It has always been Donald's way to seek retribution against those who've challenged him or criticized him or, told the truth about him. But recently, his quest for revenge has gone to an entirely different level. He's calling for investigations into his political opponents without any pretense of there being evidence of any crime. In fact, it looks like he's asking people under him to invent evidence. This is dangerous, of course, it's autocratic, and it should deeply alarm all of us. Recently, Donald shocked his own regime with a late night post on his failed social media platform demanding that Attorney General Pam Bondi prosecute his political enemies. Good Morning America has the story.
The president writing this message on social media addressed to Pam, insisting nothing is being done, adding, "We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. Justice must be served now."
We have to act fast. If they're not guilty, that's fine. If they are guilty or if they should be charged, they should be charged.
President Trump calling for cases against Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, former FBI Director James Comey, and New York Attorney General Letitia James.
Reputation? Credibility? I mean, Donald has a reputation, but he has no credibility. But when I said that Donald's advisors were shocked, I meant it. Rolling Stone's Aswin Sweepsong and Andrew Perez reported that many people in the White House thought he posted this by mistake. In the article, they write, quote, "Several senior officials at the Justice Department and also at the White House were blindsided by Donald's message on Saturday night. Some of the Justice Department were left scratching their heads because the Truth Social post directed at Pam read so much like a text message or direct message from Donald." Yeah, he texts like that, one of his advisors said. It's a lot like when Donald writes online, unquote. Is it? But was it meant to be posted online? Donald later expressed support for Bondi, but let's face it, if she doesn't play ball with his revenge campaign, he's going to fire her. That is usually how it ends up for people who don't go all in. And quite frankly, it also ends up that way for people who do go all in. When asked about what's next for the Attorney General if she can't find evidence to support charges against Letitia James, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, a trustworthy authority on this and all other matters, had this to say.
What does President Trump plan to do if the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, tells him that there is not enough evidence to bring his political opponents' cases or to charge those cases?
That's a hypothetical question, Kristen. That hasn't happened at this point.
But we did see one U.S. attorney not be able to find enough evidence, and now they no longer have a job. Is that something that you would consider?
Look, the president stands with Pam Bondi 100%. He made that clear this weekend. He answered questions from all of you last night on Air Force One. He said the same, and that's how he feels at this moment in time.
Just one more thing on the Attorney General.
Go ahead, Pam.
Yeah, classic non-answer. But this is not how it's supposed to work. Donald is expecting fully that Pam Bondi is going to do his bidding. That is not what attorney generals of the United States are supposed to do. They are supposed to be independent agents who do not take orders from the president. And this is where things stand right now. Either Bondi doesn't follow Donald's directives and she'll likely get fired to be replaced with somebody even more sycophantic, or a much more likely scenario, she will follow Donald's orders, which is completely contrary to her oath and her office. So whether or not Donald meant to send it or not, he did. And now we know. Before we go on, we must protect our rule of law. So please like and share this video. And if you believe in our mission, please subscribe to our channel. There's more to unpack in Donald's especially long, unhinged social media post. Somewhere in the middle of that screed, he writes, quote, "We almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to do his job. That's why two of the worst Dem senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and said he quit and that we had no case. No, I fired him, and there is a great case, and many lawyers and legal pundits say so. Lindsay Halligan is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot, Pam," unquote. Donald is talking about Erik Sebert there, and the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. And he, whether he was fired or resigned or not, and I tend to believe Sebert, not Donald, He resigned because he refused to prosecute New York Attorney General Letitia James because there wasn't sufficient evidence to do so. And that, according to Donald, meant that Sebert wasn't doing his job, which is to say, Sebert wasn't doing what Donald wanted him to do, no matter how illegal. CNN reported more on this story.
The U.S. attorney under heavy pressure from President Trump to charge a New York State official the president considers a political enemy is stepping down. Earlier today, the president said he wanted to get rid of Erik Sebert, head of the Eastern District of Virginia. That's Sebert there. The president has been demanding that he charge New York Attorney General Letitia James with mortgage fraud. Sebert's office does not have enough evidence, they say, to bring an indictment. The president is angry with Sebert because with Letitia James because she won a business fraud case against him and his company.
So whether, again, Sebert was fired or he resigned, he was forced out. A federal prosecutor who'd just been nominated to his post with bipartisan support. This is a guy that Donald nominated. And Sebert's career is ended simply because he pursued a case that has no legal merit, which is what attorneys for the DOJ are supposed to do. Writer and lawyer Ruth Marcus warned about the grave danger of this dismissal in The New Yorker, writing, quote, firing a prosecutor for refusing to pursue a political opponent without a sufficient legal basis crosses the reddest of lines. The DOJ's manual for federal prosecutors sets out the standards for determining when to bring a case. The prosecutor may seek charges only if she believes that the person will more likely than not be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by an unbiased trier of fact, and that the conviction will be upheld on appeal. Pursuing a case that fails to meet that standard is unethical, full stop, unquote. Yes, full stop. But do we think this is going to stop here? No. Donald is remaking the DOJ in his image with the help of people like Attorney General Pam Bondi and her deputies Emil Bove and Todd Blanche. By the way, the crime Donald is incapable of making stick is that allegedly, and as it turns out, fictionally, Letitia James committed some kind of mortgage fraud. This is the same charge currently he is trying to use to get Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook fired. And that's not sticking either. Why? Because she didn't commit mortgage fraud. Donald's attempts to fire, investigate, and prosecute political enemies are getting more shameless and brazen. And as far as I can tell, they are going unchecked by either party. Now, while Donald is trying to make his DOJ go after his political adversaries, and in fact is succeeding in doing so, even if those political adversaries have done nothing wrong other than, I don't know, not like him, he's ignoring blatant crimes committed by his own people. MSNBC broke the story about Tom Homan. Take a look.
Trump's Department of Justice shut down an investigation into Tom Homan, according to multiple people familiar with the probe and internal documents reviewed by MSNBC. In an undercover operation last year, the FBI recorded Homan, now the White House border czar, accepting $50,000 in cash after indicating he would help agents who were posing as business executives win government contracts in a second Trump term. It's unclear what reasons FBI and DOJ officials gave for shutting down the probe, but a Trump DOJ appointee called the case a deep state probe earlier this year, and no further investigative steps were taken, sources say.
There is literally no reason to think that Homan is not guilty of taking bribes. I mean, the guy, first of all, he's a thug. And secondly, he took a bag full of $50,000 in cash. But this is the kind of person Donald surrounds himself with, loyalists who will color outside of the lines, and many of whom would be in jail without Donald's protection, just as Donald would be in jail if it weren't for the protection he's received from the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court. When asked about this case being dismissed by the corrupt Todd Blanche and Kash Patel, Press Secretary Leavitt did what she does best. She lied. Take a look.
I mean, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Homan have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters in the midst of a presidential campaign. You had FBI agents going undercover to try and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. Mr. Homan did absolutely nothing wrong, and even the President's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this. They found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing. In the White House and the President stand by Tom Homan 100% because he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the President shut down the border.
Brave. I do not think that word means what you think it means. Anyway, why bother parsing that? Every single word that came out of that person's mouth is a lie. Homan took a bribe. The DOJ covered it up because he's doing Donald's bidding, and Donald has no problem with criminality, whether his own or that of people who support him. So, drain the swamp. Pretty sure that's not what happened. Donald is the swamp. And that swamp is just getting dirtier, deeper, and wider. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.